In this video, I'll be making a simplified sketch of blood flow through the heart. To start my sketch, I'm going to draw a kind of anatomical heart, not super anatomical, and I'm going to split it into the 4 chambers. What's important to remember is that left and right is determined by the owner of the heart, not me as the observer. So even though this section looks to be the top left for me, it's actually this heart's owner's right side. This top part is called the right atrium. And next to it will be the left atrium. The atria are the 2 chambers at the top. At the bottom, those 2 chambers are called ventricles. Under the right atrium is the right ventricle. And under the left atrium is the left ventricle. The left ventricle is the most muscular of the 2 because it has to pump the blood throughout the entire body, not just around the pulmonary circuit. Off to the side, I'm going to draw 2 additional structures. A set of lungs, and I'm going to draw a capillary bed. I'm going to try to make a vascular shunt look kind of obvious. No guarantees. So the vascular shunt would be this thicker channel through the middle. I want to also point out the apex of the heart. It is at the bottom. And for the rest of this video, when I use the color red, I'm using that to denote blood that is oxygen rich. Conversely, when I use the color blue, I'm using that to denote blood which is oxygen poor. The lungs have a crucial role in the circulatory system because it is there where gas exchange occurs. Waste gas, such as CO2, is released back to the lungs from oxygen poor blood, and gas exchange occurs so that the blood can then take in the oxygen that is available in the lungs. So when blood leaves the lungs, we are going to show that that blood is oxygen rich. And that oxygen rich blood goes into the left atrium. From there, it's going to pass through a valve of the heart into the left ventricle. This valve, which I'm denoting by the gray circle, is called the bicuspid valve. It's also called the mitral valve. So after the oxygen-rich blood passes from the left atrium to the left ventricle through the bicuspid valve, that oxygen-rich blood is going to be pushed out to the capillaries of our body. This way our tissues can get all of the nutrients and oxygen that they need in order to survive and function. After blood passes through capillary beds, it returns to the heart in an oxygen-poor condition through veins. Veins are then going to return blood into the right atrium. After blood collects, it again moves downward to the ventricle, but this time to the right ventricle. This occurs through a valve called the tricuspid valve. The right ventricle is then responsible for getting the blood back to the lungs so that it can collect oxygen. When we talked about arteries and veins, we said that all arteries go away from the heart and all veins go towards the heart. We could not say, however, that all arteries carried oxygen-rich blood and that all veins carried oxygen-poor blood. That is due to the 2 exceptions that we have when it comes to vessels to and from the lungs. The right ventricle is pumping blood to the lungs in order to get oxygen. This artery is called the pulmonary artery. And unlike other arteries we study, it carries oxygen-poor blood. The vessel that carries the oxygen-rich blood from the lungs to the left atrium is called the pulmonary vein and is the only vein that carries oxygen-rich blood to be pumped to the rest of our body. What I want you to take note of here is that we're moving unidirectionally in one system. The blood never leaves the heart or blood vessels. However, when looking at the heart, we must understand that there are two circuits. The first is called the pulmonary circuit and deals with blood from the right atrium that goes to the lungs and returns to the heart at the left atrium. The second circuit is called the systemic circuit. The blood leaves the left ventricle to go to the capillaries, and then after dropping off nutrients and oxygen to the tissues, returns back to the right atrium. The names of those two circuits are the pulmonary circuit, which carries blood to and from the lungs, and the systemic circuit, which carries blood to and from the rest of the body.